Things we did as children we can laugh at now. We can laugh now at the things we did as kids. Sometimes when we were young, we found ourselves in a bathroom emergency. This is my story. When I was 6 years old, my parents stopped in front of a store and told me to wait in the car. They said they'd only be inside for a few minutes and made it very clear that I should stay in the car and wait for them to come out. They emphasized that I shouldn't leave the car and go into the store under any circumstances, so I stayed in the car and did as I was told. A few minutes passed and I desperately needed to use the bathroom. I mean, really desperately. I considered going into the store, but I was afraid of getting in trouble for leaving the car, so I thought about what to do next. That's when I spotted a brown paper Zeller's shopping bag on the floor. What a relief. I pulled down my pants and did my business in the brown paper bag. It was a huge relief. But that feeling quickly went away as I realized I now had a new problem. What was I supposed to do with the bag of poop now in the car? I knew I'd be in trouble if my parents found out, so my 6-year-old brain came up with a solution. I decided to hide the bag under the front seat, so that's exactly what I did. I slid the bag, with its smelly contents, right under where my dad would sit when he drove the car. A few minutes later, my parents came back to the car, and I was sitting in the back seat, looking as innocent as can be. They got in and praised me for being a good boy and doing what I was told. My dad got comfortable in his seat, started the car, and then began sniffing the air. He sniffed some more, looked at my mom, and asked, "Carolyn, do you smell poop?" "Yes, Bobby, I do," she answered. "For the love of God, get him in the bath as soon as we get home," my dad exclaimed. So, as soon as we got home, I was put straight into the tub. The next day, we got into the car to go somewhere. My dad got settled in his seat, then looked at my mom and said, "Jesus Christ, Carolyn, I thought you said you bathed him yesterday." "Yes, I did, Bobby. Well, you didn't do a very good job, because he smells like a disgusting outhouse on a hot summer day." "Shut up, Bobby. I'll wash him again when we get back home." So, we continued on our way, despite the overwhelming stench in the car. We had all 4 windows rolled down, but the sweltering July heat only made the smell worse, keeping it potent and unbearable. We finally arrived back home after a journey accompanied by a constant stream of profanities from my dad. I was promptly put back in the tub for another bath. My mom made sure to clean me extra thoroughly, paying special attention to my bottom. She scrubbed me until I was sparkling clean. Not a hint of the previous smell remained. Problem solved. The next time we got in the car, we were on our way to pick up my grandmother. My dad settled into his seat, started the engine, and a few seconds later, he slammed his fist onto the dashboard. He looked at my mom, his face red with rage, and bellowed, "I still smell shit. I still smell fucking shit." Bobby, calmed down. "I told you I washed him, and I checked him before we got in the car, and he didn't smell like poop. I smell it too, for crying out loud, but I can tell you it's not coming from him." "Then where is it coming from?" "Carolyn, I don't know." Bobby, my mom's frustration matched my dad's, and the tension in the car escalated. We arrived to pick up my grandmother, and the putrid smell in the car was excruciating. I could see the discomfort on her face as she got in, but she didn't want to be impolite, so she endured the stench in silence, just like the rest of us. The car was filled with an unbearable, suffocating odor that seemed to intensify with every passing moment. Finally, my dad slammed on the brakes, pulled the car over to the side of the road, and shattered the uncomfortable silence. "I can't take it anymore," he bellowed. "There's shit somewhere in this damn car." His explosive outburst echoed through the vehicle, releasing the pent-up tension and frustration that had been building up inside him. "I know it's here, and if I have to disassemble this entire car to find it, I will." My dad's fury reached a boiling point as he vowed to get to the source of the smell. We all exited the vehicle, and he began a meticulous search, sniffing around every inch. He noticed that the odor grew stronger near the floor, and his investigation became even more intense. When I had secretly stashed the bag of poop under the seat, I had left one end unrolled, creating a small opening. Now, my dad was frantically searching for the source of the smell, sniffing and feeling around every nook and cranny. He slid his hand under the passenger seat, feeling around cautiously, but found nothing. Unbeknownst to him, the bag was just out of reach, hiding in plain sight. He then slid his hand under the driver's side seat, feeling around, and found something soft and squishy. As he continued to explore the hidden space, his hand inadvertently slipped into the open end of the bag, making contact with its vile contents. The realization of what he had just touched dawned on him, and his body language froze in disgust. Suddenly, a look of utter panic and revulsion contorted his face as he jerked his hand back in terror. He leapt out of the car, standing on the roadside as vehicles whizzed by, and stared at his hand in front of his face in disbelief. His fingers were smeared with feces, the reality of what he had touched sinking in. The shock and disgust were palpable as he froze, his eyes fixed on the mess. And so, after a thorough and colorful tongue lashing, I emerged unscathed and lived to tell the tale of this epic bathroom emergency. Years later, I can look back on that chaotic scene and laugh at the absurdity of it all.
Story 2.
I want to set rules in my house to get all the kids to bed at a reasonable time. One of the kids isn't mine, but I still think they should follow the rules. Am I the bad guy for wanting this? I have 2 kids with my partner, a 2-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. My partner also has a 12-year-old son from a previous relationship who I consider like my own. The problem is, my partner lets the 12-year-old do whatever he wants and stay up as late as he wants, without any bedtime rules. I've talked to my partner many times about how uncomfortable I am with his 12-year-old son staying up late playing Xbox, sometimes until after 4 a.m. This lack of sleep has affected the child's concentration. And my partner has even been called into school about it. I've told my partner that he can raise his child as he sees fit, but I won't be raising my own kids the same way. My partner seemed to understand my concerns, but he never made any changes to the 12-year-old's routine. It's hard for me to treat him like my own son when I feel like I'm not helping him have a better future. I want to support him, but I don't know how when his routine isn't changing. Question: what bedtime do you think is reasonable for a 12-year-old kid? At what time do you send them to bed?